If Carmelo Anthony had just one ring, this wouldn't even be a conversation. He'd be revered as one of the NBA's immortals, a generational scorer crowned by a championship. But instead, we live in a world where that isn't the case. In our reality, he's just Melo, a walking bucket who can never reach the peak of the sport. From Denver to New York, Carmelo led rosters that never had the ability to contend. First-round exits became the norm, and the scrutiny he got was brutal. His own coach publicly criticized the way he played. His team president straight up said that he'd be better off somewhere else. And the fact that his peers consistently saw success year after year only amplified his shortcomings. Instead of being remembered for what he could do on the court, Melo's legacy is eclipsed by drama, comparisons, and the one thing he could never reach. Which begs the question, when you don't win, what are you? Carmelo Anthony's road to the NBA began in Brooklyn, New York, just a train ride away from the mecca of basketball, the Knicks, the birthplace of street ball. He grew up with a single mother after the passing of his father when he was just 2 years old, turning him to the streets. But in a good way. In Brooklyn, basketball could be found on any corner of the street. It was part of the culture, and for Carmelo, it became an outlet. At 8 years old, his family made the move to Baltimore, Maryland, where hooping became an obsession. But after being cut from his high school team as a freshman, Melo kicked it into overdrive. Within a year, the dude became a high school sensation, transferring to the famed Oak Hill Academy for his senior year, where he'd have a chance to put his name on the map. Midway through the season, Oak Hill would face St. Vincent St. Mary's High School, led by phenom LeBron James, live on ESPN. Under the bright lights, Melo put on a show with 34 points and 11 boards in the win. Everyone across the nation now knew the name Carmelo Anthony. Just a few months later, Melo would make his college debut with Syracuse, and the hype was legit. At 6'8", 230 pounds, the man had the ability to score over anyone from anywhere at any time, averaging 22 and 10 on the season to lead Syracuse to the NCAA tournament. He put the squad on his shoulders with 5 straight wins to lead them to the national championship game, where he did it again with 20-10-7 to win the title for the first time in the school's history, while also winning the tournament's most outstanding player award. As a freshman, at just 18, Carmelo's ability to lead and carry a team to the promised land was further proof that he was a once-in-a-generation talent. Just days later, he declared for the 2003 NBA draft, where that LeBron James guy was a lock to go first overall. The only question was if it would be Carmelo or highly touted prospect Darko Milicic, headed to Detroit at number 2. The choice is obvious, right?
With the second pick in the 2003 NBA draft, the Detroit Pistons select Darko Milicic from Serbia and Montenegro. With the third pick in the 2003 NBA draft, the Denver Nuggets select Carmelo Anthony from Syracuse University.
Detroit opted for potential over proven talent, which meant Carmelo was headed to the Mile High City, joining a small market Denver Nuggets team that frankly hasn't had a superstar of this caliber in the franchise's history. It was a new era for the team, but for Melo, it was simple. Just hoop. Everything the kid showcased in college transitioned seamlessly to the league. Mid-range, post-game, fadeaway, speed, athleticism. As a 19-year-old, Carmelo had the offensive arsenal of a seasoned scorer. He led Denver to a 26-win increase from last season, while averaging 21, 6, and 2 to get his team to the playoffs for the first time in nearly a decade. The crazy part? It wasn't even good enough to win the Rookie of the Year award. The honor went to LeBron James, who put up similar numbers without leading his team to the postseason. To this day, it's seen as an absolute robbery. Come playoff time, Melo and the Nuggets ran into the MVP in round 1, losing the series in 5. But regardless, Anthony proved that what he did at Syracuse was no fluke. He can carry a franchise as its centerpiece. However, winning wouldn't come as easily. In 2005, Denver saw another uptick in wins, but a meeting with the Spurs dynasty in the first round was all too much. 2006, though, saw Melo take the leap we all expected him to make. As the face of the franchise, he put up 26 points a night on top-tier efficiency, clinching a playoff berth for a third consecutive season. And for the third consecutive season, they lost in 5 in round 1, which revealed Denver's main issue. All they had was Melo. When teams schemed for him and forced the ball out of his hands, the Nuggets had no one else to count on. Andre Miller was their second option, and no disrespect to Andre, but he wasn't exactly a major scoring threat. Melo was the offensive engine. Unplug him and the whole offense stalled. A fix was needed, and the answer to their problem was the answer.
Good evening. Here to announce that we've traded Allen Iverson and Ivan McFarland to Denver.
I never thought the day would come where I'm pretty much saying goodbye to you as a Philadelphia 76er. You are now a member of the Denver Nuggets. First of all, how is that feeling for you right now?
It's a great feeling.
Just 2 months into the 07 season, Denver pulled the trigger on a blockbuster trade for former league MVP Allen Iverson, offering Carmelo an offensive weapon as his running mate. And they thrived. With 2 of the elite scorers in the NBA, Denver was a handful to deal with. Plus the fact that they had Defensive Player of the Year Marcus Camby anchoring the defensive end, the Nuggets entered the postseason as a legitimate title threat. Except those hopes lasted about 4 seconds, as they lost to the Spurs in 5 in the first round again. 2008 was promising. In their first full season together, the Cornrow duo were unguardable, each averaging over 25 points a night, as they make history by becoming the first 50-win team to get swept in the first round. Yeah, early playoff exits were becoming a theme, and the pressure was deafening. Just 5 years into his career, Carmelo had become in many ways a microcosm of the Nuggets. Talented, dynamic, and flashy during the regular season, but lacking the defensive mindset and structure needed to win a championship. Melo carried the narrative of a great player whose style doesn't translate to winning, a stark contrast to his contemporaries who were thriving and succeeding at the highest level. If Carmelo wanted to be regarded in the same breath as the LeBrons, Wades, and Kobes of the world, a breakthrough had to come sooner rather than later. And the first step was change. Just weeks into the 2009 season, management shook things up, trading away Iverson to the Pistons in return for former Finals MVP Chauncey Billups, more of a mature distributor to pair alongside Carmelo. And suddenly, everything clicked. The offense was firing on all cylinders. They boasted the 8th best defense in the league and tied the franchise record with 54 wins. The time was now. In round 1, Melo put up 30 points and 7 boards a night to finally get over the hump. Then in round 2, they kept it going as they blow past Dallas to make the conference finals for the first time in 24 years. Awaiting them was Kobe and the Lakers in a star-studded matchup. Melo held his own against one of the all-time greats, but LA proved to be a different beast, as they win in 6 and go on to capture the title. It was heartbreaking, but this was the big breakthrough Denver had been looking for. In 2010, Melo entered the season fresh and motivated to make another run, but come playoff time, they suffer another first-round exit, as many people saw 2009 as an outlier rather than a glimpse into the future. A future that didn't have Carmelo in the picture. Entering 2011, virtually every contract on the Nuggets roster was up at the end of the season, with rumblings that management had plans of going younger and rebuilding. A reset that Melo wanted nothing to do with. And halfway through the year, he made that very clear, stating that he wants to be traded ASAP, with one team on the top of his list.
That's like the ultimate dream.
at the end of the day. Who wouldn't want to go back home to play?
The deal is finally done. The Carmelo Anthony trade saga is finally over. Anthony going to his desired destination, Madison Square Garden, to play with the Knicks.
Carmelo got what he wanted, getting the opportunity to come home to New York and play under the bright lights of Madison Square Garden, while also signing a 3-year, $65 million extension. The hometown kid was committed to bringing a title back to New York, but it wasn't gonna happen this year. Even in the East, Melo couldn't escape those playoff demons, as he got swept by the Celtics in round 1. And the truth is, this team wasn't very different from the one in Denver. The Knicks had completely gutted their roster to trade for Anthony, even though they could have just waited a few months to sign him in free agency. And now all that was left was Carmelo, Amari Stoudemire, and some limited role players. He was once again facing the same reality. In his first full season in New York, the Knicks were underwhelming, as they found themselves chasing a playoff spot down the final stretch of the season, culminating in a must-win game against the #1 seed Chicago Bulls at MSG on national TV. And down 3 late in regulation, Carmelo set his house on fire.
Foul. No. Anthony for 3. Bang! That one goes down, and the game is tied. Mike Woodson not calling timeout.
And I like that move.
In the hands of Anthony. Anthony for 3. Puts it in! Knicks by 1 with 8.2 remaining. Carmelo Anthony, perhaps his finest moment as a Knick. 2 clutch threes, one at the end of regulation, one in the final seconds of overtime. And what a huge win for the Knicks.
It was pandemonium in the Garden. Carmelo was loving every second of it, coming through in the clutch to get his team to the playoffs. Shocker, they lose to Miami in 5 in round 1 for the 8th time in his career. In fact, this marks the 4th time that he's lost to the eventual champions early in the postseason. You can't make bad luck an excuse, but in Melo's case, it wasn't all on him. Up to this point in his career, he lacked the support that other stars had. In Miami, LeBron had Wade and Bosh, Durant had Westbrook, Kobe had Powell, and even an aging Paul Pierce had KG by his side. Carmelo's had his fair share of stars too, sure, but AI was on the downslope, Billups was past his prime, while Amari just can't stay healthy. And that's without mentioning the lack of a supporting cast around those stars. Mediocrity was his reality. To truly contend, Melo would have to go Super Saiyan. And well, he did. "2013 Carmelo was peak Melo. He straight fried the league with 28 points per game to capture his first scoring title. He made his 6th All-Star game, landed on the All-NBA second team, and finished 3rd in MVP voting, only behind LeBron and KD. Not to mention that he also led the Knicks to their winningest season since 1997. Melo was one of the best players in the world. Put a big on him and he blows right by. Put a smaller guy and he bullies him in the post or rises right over the top and then hits you with 3 to the dome. There was no answer for him, and come playoff time, he didn't slow down. For just the 2nd time in his career, Melo made it past the 1st round, just for it to end in round 2 against Indiana. It was another disappointment, and it turned out to be the first cracks in New York's foundation. In 2014, the Knicks missed the playoffs, but Carmelo remained optimistic, inking a 5-year, $120 million extension to stay in New York, with hopes that new team president Phil Jackson can build a contender around him. But that vision never came to fruition. 2015 was another disappointment, missing the playoffs for a 2nd straight year, with no major changes to the roster since Melo arrived in 2011. The Knicks were stuck in purgatory. Cap space was tight, they ran through 5 coaches in 7 years, the front office was a merry-go-round, they couldn't draft talent to save their life, and having Carmelo in his prime led New York into the win-now trap, chasing veterans and short-term fixes over building through youth and development. It was just a bomb waiting to go off. In 2016, the fuse got lit when Phil Jackson publicly criticized Melo, saying he holds on to the ball too long, thus giving the other team an advantage. New York would go on to miss the playoffs again, and the explosion was inevitable. Come 2017, Phil Jackson was fed up, stating to the media more than once that the team can't win with Carmelo, and that he would be better off somewhere else. Melo's time in New York was over. A childhood dream that didn't end the way he imagined. There comes a moment in a player's career where they realize that their time in the NBA is ticking away, and all they want is that feeling of winning a championship, to add the missing piece to their legacy. So they hop from team to team in the final years of their career in hopes of tasting gold. This phenomenon is called ring chasing, and Carmelo was on the hunt. In 2018, he got traded from New York to OKC, joining Russell Westbrook and Paul George to create a big three, where surprise surprise, they lost in the first round. The next season, he was in Houston to join James Harden, but the team deemed it wasn't a good fit, ditching Melo just 10 games into the season. In 2020 and 2021, he found a home in Portland, but the team was never built to reach the mountaintop. Come 2022, he was off to LA to join LeBron, Westbrook, and AD to create a super team. However, like he's experienced many times before, the season was clouded by chaos and dysfunction. The ring chase was over. In the following years, no team was willing to invest in a fading star well past his prime. The NBA had outgrown him. After entering the league on an electric high 2 decades prior, resurrecting a franchise in Denver, and reigniting the soul of New York basketball, Carmelo was quietly pushed out of the league as a player forever defined by what he couldn't accomplish.